Wednesday afternoon, and time for us to turn our attention to legal matters. It's part of our commitment to putting Southeast Texas first, and we get to ask the judge, joined by Judge Randy Shelton from the 279th District Court in Jefferson County. Judge, thanks for making some time for us.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. All right, this first question, kind of a lengthy one. Viewer says, I took a contractor to small claims court and won a judgment. I obtained a writ of execution to try and collect the judgment. Instead of paying me, he chose to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which was ultimately dismissed for non-compliance with the bankruptcy plan. Viewer goes on to say, I know he did not list all of his assets in the filing. I refiled the writ of execution and had the sheriff sell a non-homestead property. The sale did not generate enough income to satisfy my judgment in full. Can I continue to attempt to recover my judgment? How do you file a motion for post-judgment discovery so his assets can be determined for sale? My goodness, a lot to unpack. Clearly, this viewer is at least up to speed on some legal terms.
He is. Jordan, there is some property in Texas that cannot be seized to collect a debt, and there's a list of those property items in the Texas Property Code. But if you win a judgment in court, you can identify property that you believe isn't exempt and request that the constable seize the property, and then it'll be auctioned off. The constable will then take her or his costs from the proceeds, and you get the rest. If you can send the constable out anytime you can identify any kind of non-exempt property. Now, on post-judgment discovery, basically you just send the debtor a request for information so that you can identify assets to seize. If the debtor fails to cooperate, you can request that the court hold the debtor in contempt of court for not complying with your request for the information.
All right. Hopefully that helps. No, it's kind of a complicated scenario. Let's get to another question. This person said, if a JP, a Justice of the Peace, orders an autopsy on a deceased person, who has to pay for it?
Well, Jordan, if the Justice of the Peace orders the autopsy, it's free, at least to the for the family. Of course, so it's paid from county tax dollars.
Okay. And something I've always wondered, you may know about this as well. A lot of times if, say, an elderly relative dies, that generally is viewed as an unattended death, right? So no autopsy would be ordered?
Generally, it's kind of up to the Justice of the Peace. I mean, if if the person is, it doesn't appear to be natural causes, and if they're not under a doctor's care, they would probably order one, even if it's not a death by violence.
And even that would be covered typically by,
absolutely.
By the county.
Sure.
Okay, great. This final question also unfortunately involves someone who's passed. The viewer said, my mother has passed away. My father is dying. My father has a $6 million estate. Can I sue my father's estate for 50 plus years of not paying child support?
I'm a little unclear about the question, but let me try to address it this way. You can collect child support by contempt as long as it's filed within 2 years of the time that the child support obligation ends. So if the child support obligation ends at age 18, then you have until 20 to sue for contempt. Now, if you're just trying to get a judgment, which kind of refers back to that first question, you have 10 years after the obligation ends to go ahead and sue for a judgment. And then you can try to collect it by some other means other than contempt. And and the 50 years is kind of what brought this to mind. Under certain circumstances, a parent can be ordered to pay support to the other parent of a disabled child if the child's over 18 indefinitely.
Okay. Judge, we're going to have to leave it there. We appreciate you getting into some of the nuances of the law with us.
Well, thank you, Jordan.
Good to see you. Thank you, sir. If you've got questions for the judge, go to 12newsnow.com/askthejudge, and there's a form to fill out right there.